Hey team, welcome to our staff training video here. Wanted to give you a few quick notes before we jump into the weight room staff training. First, want to welcome you to the team for the semester. Really excited to have everyone on board. I think we have a great team, and I'm looking forward to seeing the type of work that we can produce over the next several months. Also, you're going to need to make sure you have a quiet space. You're going to need to take some notes so that when you are working, you'll have some competency. You'll know what to do, especially in the event that something, an emergency or something problematic happens or a challenging situation arrives. So we want to make sure that we're prepared. So pay close attention here and kind of find a quiet space. Book out about an hour and 20 minutes for this training, and then we'll be well prepared. And obviously, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to respond. But without further ado, we'll move into the training. All right. So the first thing on the list here is the staff, and I want to take a moment to introduce you to the people that sort of operate the program and have sort of created the program in its current iteration. So without further ado, the staff. Behind the audio here is me. I'm Josh Bullock. This is my 19th year in sports performance. Been at 4 NC2A institutions, 1 Olympic national governing body in that time. Taught several courses dating back to 2006 at 4 institutions, both in sports management and in sports performance. So been at this for a minute. Next up in the middle of the screen there is Coach West, Coach Claire West. We're so lucky to have her as part of our team. She joins us most recently from Athletic Republic and Park City High School, where she serves as an athletic performance coach. And she's done some of you have had opportunity to work with Coach West, and you know that she's done an outstanding job with our student athletes, and in a lot of ways really is the sort of the muscle behind this program and building it into what it is, and does a lot of the lion's share, truthfully, of the work that goes into the day-to-day operations of the program. And also she is the one who is your direct supervisor. So Coach West very much hands-on with the program, and specifically with your roles as the weight room staff. So if you get an opportunity, I would encourage you to come by the weight room. If you don't work the same days this Coach West works, then you should come by and introduce yourself and really get to know Coach West, because she's an outstanding asset for your professional growth. And then on the far right is Coach Janes. Coach Janes is our return to sport coordinator. She also comes to us from Athletic Republic, where she is bridge certified. So she does a lot of our return to sport. So if we have an athlete who has a boo-boo, then she is the one who takes those athletes under her wing and guides them through their rehab. And so as far as on campus, I'm on campus on Tuesday and Thursday. Coach West is going to be on campus on Monday, Wednesday, and likely Fridays. And then Coach James comes onto campus only for staff meetings, but works remote for us doing her return to sport prescriptions. So that's kind of the hours and the staff. All right, next section we're going to cover is emergency response, and we really want to pay close attention in this section, because it's really not a matter of if something's going to happen, it's a matter of when something's going to happen. And this is highlighted by a recent incident here in the Valley where an athlete collapsed in a weight room. Fortunately, that high school had an EAP in place, and they were able to save that person's life. So, and I've personally been a part of several of these emergency responses, delivered first aid 3 times, responded to many buildings incidents, had violent individuals in the weight room, this type of thing. So all of those things are definitely within the realm of possibility, and we don't want to be prepared. We're not going to get prepared the moment that they happen. So we need to get prepared now to have an appropriate response. So I encourage you to really buckle down and pay attention to this section. All right, foremost, in terms of emergency management, I want to draw your attention to the flip chart that is at the front desk. There's a flip chart that sits on the filing cabinet there, and that is basically your quick reference tool to design to guide you through emergencies and disasters. So that is sort of your go-to in terms of anything that is related to our Emergency Action Plan, or our EAP. Okay, it outlines your role, basic life-saving response steps, key phone numbers, emergency information, and contact information related to a lot of different things, up to and including, like somebody who could potentially hurt themselves, potential risks, threats, vulnerabilities, suicide hotline, fire, police, ambulance, campus police, more acute resources like athletic training and the counseling center. All those numbers are enclosed in there. So we just want to be aware that that information is there. And when you work your first shift, we want to just go ahead and flip through that, read it, and become very familiar with it. Okay, so just take your time and go through that. Also, you should know that all the emergency supplies for our weight room are located in the file cabinet. So you're going to find your first aid kit in there. You're going to find all your cleaning supplies in there. You're going to find all your cleanup supplies in there. All the things that we need to respond to an emergency are definitely located in and around that desk area. So take a moment to familiarize yourself when you work with where those things are. Okay. At this point, I would like for you to pause the video after I finish this little blurb here, and you can scan this QR code. This is the university's emergency action plan, and you can go through and review any of the EAP stuff related to the university in there. The one thing I would like you to do is, if you open up the link using the QR code, then scroll down a little bit, you'll see right at the top there is a video, okay? And it's about a 7-minute video, but I would like for you to watch that, and should give you a little bit more of an idea of the university's holistic approach to emergency action plan. And then there's a lot of other documents on there you can read and become familiar with, and you don't have to do those necessarily right now, but I would encourage you to visit those over the course of the next week or two. Right, the first section of the EAP that we'll cover is acts of violence. And like I said, I've had these incidences before in the weight room. Some guy come in, try to beat up his girlfriend, this type of thing. But obviously, we want to be prepared for when and if those situations do arise. So acts of violence, here we go. Okay, these are the 3 steps that we're going to be looking at in terms of our basic response to potentially an altercation, violent individual, these types of things. So we want to identify the situation as immediately as we can. We want to know if there's a firearm present, if there's a hostage, or if there's potential for physical harm to anyone individual. And if there's an active shooter or a person with a weapon, this step is critical. And the faster you can call for help, the faster it'll arrive. And obviously that will allow us to mitigate risk to staff, employees, students, athletes, etc. So, or if potentially visitors. So we want to make sure that, if any of these situations arise, we immediately want to call 911. Okay, don't waste time. Just go right to it. If there's a firearm, a hostage situation, or the potential for physical harm, we immediately want to call 911. All right, so given the news around active shooters recently, we know that this is becoming, unfortunately and sadly, all too common. But we want to be prepared that that if this did happen, that we would have an appropriate response. And I suppose we're not immune to it, so we need to be ready if this does happen. And the steps that you're going to follow if there's an active shooter on campus are the following. The first one is escape. Okay, we're going to run away from the situation if running doesn't put us in immediate danger. So if the shooter isn't in our vicinity, we have a clear, safe escape path. This can be the fastest way to ensure safety. Okay, chances to escape can be small, and if you feel your best judgment is to run, I would definitely want to encourage you to take that opportunity. Okay, so get away and get to a safe space. Leave your belongings. They'll only slow you down. You don't need anything. Just get moving and get out and get into a safe space. Okay, the shooter does not want the things that you own. They want to try and harm people. So make sure that you protect the most important thing, and that is you. If it will not put you in harm's way, you are to help the participant or the participants in the weight room, help those individuals get to a safe space. So if it doesn't put us in harm's way, we want to help others. And then once you make sure everyone is out of the weight room, we want to shut the doors behind us. And then finally, when it's safe, we want to call 911. Okay, so only when we've ensured our safety, we want to stop and make a phone call. My second step is if you can't run or the ability to escape is impeded, we want to hide. So we want to act quickly and quietly, so the shooter can't locate where or what room we are hiding in. Obviously, most likely situation for us is it will be hiding out in the weight room. So we want to hide out of view, and then if possible, we want to have an escape route. So the shooter is going to be looking from outside the room. So be in a safe place where if the shooter turns on the lights or takes a step in, they won't be able to see you. Okay, you need to be able to move in case of a need, or in case you need to run away. All right. Lock and block the door. So if we're in the weight room, the doors automatically lock. So you can just shut the doors and they'll lock. And so just be aware that if the door's shut, it's locked. And after you shut and lock the door, we want to block the door. And there are many, many, many heavy things in that weight room that you can put in front of that door. So I would definitely encourage you to put those things in front of that door to block that door in case the person tries to kick the door in. The next thing you want to do is you want to put your phone on silent. Okay, many people will be calling or texting once they hear this news, and noise or giving away where you're hiding, it can be a life or death situation. That the person is not looking to steal your stuff; they're looking to harm people, and if they don't believe that there's anyone in the room, then they won't come in. So just be aware that we want to put our phone on silent, so as we don't give away our position. And then once you're in the room, maybe don't stand in the middle of the room. Get behind large objects, things that can stop bullets, and get into a position where you have protection from gunfire. So just, kind of the last things there on hiding. So just kind of hide, lock, block, quiet is the way that we want to go. And then as a last ditch effort here, if we are face to face with a person with a gun, or other weapon, I guess potentially here, we want to incapacitate the aggressor. Okay, it can be done in many ways. However, if the shooter is dead or unconscious, they're no longer a threat. And we want to use this is very much a life or death situation. So you want to be aggressive, use all your force, and you want to go in with the intent to, hurt or kill in the same way that you would if your life was quite literally your life will be in danger. So we want to make sure that we defend ourselves. And in the weight room, we have an abundance of improvised weapons. So you can use any tool around you that will help in your efforts to incapacitate the aggressor. And then finally, we want to commit to it. Okay, so this is kind of without hesitation. We want to make sure that we really sort of commit to surviving at that moment. And we can all work, obviously, with the people in the room. You can work together in a collaborative effort to make that happen. So that's kind of the gist on the active shooter situation. Run, hide, fight as the steps that we're going to follow, and we'll get through it and move forward. Okay, the next several steps kind of pertain to some natural disasters, and the first one that we're going to cover here is the event of an earthquake. All right, 3 steps that we want to pay attention to during an earthquake, and that is drop. So on our hand, we want to drop to our hands and knees where we are. Stay in this position because it prevents you from being struck down. So we want to get down low, and then we want to flee to safety if it's close by. Okay, we want to hold on. So crawl underneath the desk, equipment, a squat rack frame for cover. So those squat racks are designed to hold up a bunch of weight. So if you can get between a squat rack frame, then you can, and the top floor sort of starts to fall down. Then we have shelter, and nothing's going to crush us because that squat rack is designed to hold a boatload of weight. So, let's make sure we crawl underneath something that provides shelter. or crawl to an interior wall because the interior walls are less likely to fail. Um, we want to again stay on our knees as we kind of hold on and find cover. Okay. Cover until the shaking stops, and under shelter, hold on and be ready to move with your shelter if you can lift the shelter. So if you have something that's movable, um, then you can take it with you. But if you have no shelter, then you want to obviously get to a point of an interior wall. If that's not available, you want to make sure that you cover your head and neck, and you want to encourage people in the room who are training to do the same thing. So a quick response here can often mean, um, you know, the difference between something very dire happening and us being well prepared in the event of an earthquake. All right, after an earthquake, so the kind of the shaking is stopped, or we're at a point where the shaking is on a break there. We have several steps here that we want to follow after an earthquake. The first one is we want to assess yourself and the others around you, assess the area for injuries and damage. So we don't want to run into danger, and we also want to take inventory of those who may need help. A second, as a person working, it's your job to determine if it's safe to remain in your current location or if an evacuation is necessary. So we want to decide whether or not we want to move or if we feel safe where we're at. Number 3, we want to go to one of the emergency assembly points, which I'll show you on the very next slide, which is on Dumke Field. So if we do decide that we want to evacuate, we're going to be moving to Dumke Field. And then number 4, we want to follow emergency plans and instructions from campus patrol, campus maintenance, university personnel, support personnel, and we want to report the status, needs, and capabilities to emergency personnel. So so that's kind of the 5 steps: assess, determine, evacuate, help people if it doesn't put us in danger, and then when you do get out, we want to make sure that we report to the personnel, the emergency response personnel, either from the university or from the city, county, or state. Okay, as promised, if we do evacuate, or we do have to evacuate from from Payne, we want to be moving to Dumke Field. Okay, and you can see that the black arrow there kind of highlights Payne Gym. So we are going to be on just in front of the goalkeeper's box on the north side of Dumke Field. So that's where our evacuation safe spot is. So in the event that we need to evacuate for any situation, that's where we would go, okay? And obviously that would be any condition inside the weight room that is unsafe due to, extensive failure, critical systems failure, other dangers. And the way that we would be notified of the need to evacuate can come from a lot of different things. Most prominently, right, would be the fire alarm. The second would be a directive from campus patrol, facilities personnel, or an evacuation order via the university's emergency notification system that will come directly to your phone. And obviously we want to take everyone in the facility with us. All that being said, if you're in the weight room and you haven't received an order to evacuate, but you believe it isn't safe for you or the student athletes to be in there due to a fire, hazardous material leak example, then you need to pull the nearest fire alarm and alert all occupants to evacuate and follow the evacuation procedures. Okay, so we want to move to this location on Dumke Field if we need to evacuate. All right, when we evacuate, here's the steps that we want to take. All right, we want to stay calm. Okay, the people in the building and the people in our facility are going to be looking to you for leadership, and they're not going to follow if you're panicking. So stay calm and be rational and be a strong leader. You've definitely been hired because you are all strong leaders. And when it's safe, you can gather your essential personal belongings, including your identification, purse, wallet, keys, backpacks, medications. Okay, so you can take those things. In the event of Payne, it's such an old building that it may be a long time before you get back in that building if there's a catastrophic failure. So if it's safe, you can gather your essential belongings. When we evacuate, we want to close the doors close the door to the weight room, and then proceed to the nearest exit. The nearest exit is going to be on that north side next to the men's lacrosse locker room. Alternatively, you can head out the east side entrance, and there's also exits through the athletic training room. And those exit strategies are posted in the flip chart. They're also posted throughout the facility. Okay, once outside, you want to move quickly away from the building to our designated evacuation assembly point on Dumke, which, like I said, is just in front of the goalkeeper's box on the north side of the field. And then you want to report to coaching staff. So we, if we're not on campus, we would appreciate knowing what's going on. And then you want to report to anyone who's around. So we would like to know that if something happened, that yes, you are safe, and yes, you have done your due diligence to make sure that the people on ground at that time also know you're safe. And report any medical emergencies to the people on the ground so that people can get treated. And then from there, once we're on Dumke, we want to await and follow instructions from campus police, university personnel, law enforcement, emergency officials, etc. Okay, so that's where we want to go, but yeah, that's kind of the steps that we want to follow. Be a strong leader, make sure we get out of the building, make sure we get to where we want to be, and then let people know that you're safe and get others help as needed. Then finally, wait for instructions. All right, as you know, our building is old. It's very old. Okay, and so the possibility of this type of thing, I suppose, because the building is older, is heightened. So the next one we're going to talk about is fire, smoke, or possibly an explosion. All right. So the steps for fires and smoke, explosions, this type of thing. We're going to follow the acronym RACE, and when we follow the acronym RACE, we want to always follow the evacuation plan in situations with smoke and fire. So please recall the evacuation plan that I just covered. But the steps are this: first, rescue. Get anyone out of danger. So if there's someone in danger, we want to move that individual as long as it doesn't put us at risk out of danger. The next one is we want to pull the fire alarm. So once we pull the fire alarm, then we want to call 911. Following that, we want to contain the area where the hazard is, whether it be fire, smoke, or explosion. We want to close the doors and windows where the fire started and has spread. So if it's in the weight room, God forbid, get people out and close the door to contain the situation. And then if it's something small, some kind of small fire, we want to use the fire extinguishers. I'll talk about that on the next slide, but we want to extinguish small fires, and if the fire can't be extinguished, we want to evacuate the building. And fire extinguishers are located throughout the facility, and you can utilize those in the event that you're going to extinguish a fire. But please, next time you're in the facility, take a moment to familiarize yourself with the locations of those extinguishers. All right, so how to use a fire extinguisher. I don't know about anyone else, but I've never personally used a fire extinguisher. I have several around my home, in my RV, different things like that. So I have them strategically positioned around, but I've never actually used one. But to use a fire extinguisher, you want to pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever, and sweep from side to side. So the acronym there is PASS, P-A-S-S. So we want to pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep when we use our fire extinguisher. And remember, we want to aim at the base of the fire, not at the top, okay? So that's kind of some good tips on using a fire extinguisher. Okay, hazardous or infectious material will be the next one that we'll cover. A hazardous or infectious material incident could be a spill, release of chemicals, possibly, or biological materials. In our situation, that's most likely blood, vomit, or saliva that can endanger people or the environment. So we just want to make sure that we're prepared that in the event that something does happen, someone is injured or someone becomes ill, that we have this appropriate response. All right, so cleaning up infectious materials. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to block off the area. Okay, this should be done until all the materials are cleaned up and people need to stay out. So we're going to go ahead and block off that area. We can use equipment. We can use anything that you want to just clear that area. Cones. You can use chairs. You can use benches. It doesn't matter, but we just need to block off that area. Okay. We want to put on disposable gloves. Those are available for you in the filing cabinet, and this will protect you from the materials that have been spilled or I guess spilled by the person, and we want to make sure that we dispose of those gloves after we use them. Okay. Number 3, we want to wipe up as much of the spill as possible. Okay. So if it's something like blood, we want to wipe it up. If it's vomit, we want to clean it up, and we want to dispose of it. And if it's if needed, we can use the biohazard container in the athletic training room. So if it's a biological material, we can throw it in the biohazard bin. Okay, do that with your gloves on. And step number 4, you're gonna spray the gym spray, which is Whizzer, on the contaminant. All right, and we want to spray it gently so we don't spread it everywhere. So if it's biological material, blood, vomit, saliva, etc., we want to spray it, and then we want to let the solution sit on there for 20 minutes. So it has a 10-minute kill time, but we're going to go for 20 minutes. Okay, so to make sure that there's nothing in there that could be infectious. So we're going to let the solution sit for 20 minutes, and then we'll dispose of. If you're not sure what 20 minutes is, you can either use your watch, use your phone, or you can use the stopwatch in the weight room, by the way. And then the next one would be, we want to throw away all the soiled materials. So anything that has direct contact with the infected material, gloves, towels, etc., that all gets thrown in the trash bag. And then we want to discard the trash bag in outside of the facility. So we want to throw that in a dumpster. Obviously, if it's a biohazard, we want to dispose of it in the biohazard material in the athletic training room. And then last, we want to make sure that we really wash our hands, arms, face, wash anything that may have come in contact with that material. All right. So if it's a hazardous material that could potentially harm you, okay, we want to evacuate and call 911. So this could be anything like a leak in the roof where, some kind of hazardous material is falling in the weight room. I don't even, it's a lot. It's a lot of possibilities in Payne. So just be aware that, if there's a material that's that you cross that could potentially harm you, we want to evacuate and call 911. Okay. And this is things that are beyond our scope, and we need a professional to help with. So our job at that point then would be to utilize the emergency activation plan, and we want to use our evacuation plan. So if we did come in contact with it, let's say it got on our hands, we want to wash our hands or any part of our body that it came in contact with. We want to call 911 or the campus police, and then we want to report the following things: your name, the substance, if you know what it is, the size of the spill, exposure, injuries, and then if there's a safety data sheet affiliated with the spill, which for us is probably not really going to be the case because we don't have a lot of those types of materials on hand. But we, maybe taking a photo of it would be beneficial, so that people can respond accordingly. All right, I've kind of alluded to it already, but infrastructure failure in our building is a pretty fair possibility, and I've already seen a few of those types of things where, our air conditioner failed and water was leaking all the way down into the basement floor. So through the basketball gym floor, so from the roof to the basketball gym floor, all the way down into the hallway outside of the weight room. So infrastructure problems are definitely likely, and that is, if in case you're wondering, that is an actual picture of Payne. So I don't need to tell you that the building that we're living in and that we occupy is a pretty old building. Okay, so infrastructure problems occasionally could render the facility or building unsafe or uninhabitable. Right, these problems include failures of electricity, possibly computer and IT systems, steam, water, heat, like I just alluded to, swamp coolers and air conditioners. All those types of things could potentially fail. So, being aware of this is certainly important. Okay, so kind of the 3 steps we need to follow here in terms of severe failure or injury. Number 1, if the building is dangerous, then we need to evacuate. Okay, so follow the evacuation plan. And then number 2, if needed, administer first aid. And number 3, contact campus patrol, and this could also include 911. So just follow those steps, get away, administer first aid, and contact campus police or 911 if needed. Right, the more likely scenario for us is a non-emergency failure. Okay, and so that it could be anything that something in the building was damaged or something has gone sideways with the maintenance of the building, those types of things. So these are the steps that we want to follow for a non-emergency failure. So step 1, we want to complete an injury report. So that QR code leads you to what's called an incident report. This can be any type of incident. Okay, it covers things related to building and equipment. Yes, failure of building and equipment, and that's the way that you'll alert me. I get a notification each time that is filled out. So if there's an incident in the weight room, whether someone got injured, whether there's a building failure, whether something was lost, anything that is outside of our normal operations, you're going to want to scan that QR code and complete that report. And at the end of this slide, I'll remind you, I'm going to pause the video, but I would like for you to go in and take a look at that. But step number 2, okay, we want to notify a wellness and performance science staff member, myself, Coach West, or Coach James. And then if the weight room is still usable, we want to continue with open hours if you believe it's safe. Otherwise, we want to send our athletes home. In other words, we want to use our best judgment. So at this point, what I'd like for you to do is pause the video, scan the QR code, and take a look at that incident report and how it might be filled out. Specifically, pay attention to the injury reporting, but then you can go through the other sections as well. Okay, one of the most common occurrences for our facility, the most likely to happen to you, is that of a power outage. Okay, and this has happened a couple times since I've been at Westminster, so it's not altogether uncommon. But when a power outage occurs, we want to stop everyone from training. So we want to instruct all participants to discontinue their training, and we want to gather everyone near the front desk. Okay, there's no training permitted during a power outage. The second step is we want to shut down the weight room. So this includes all equipment that's electronically powered. So tablets, TVs, fans, all those things, we want to turn those things off. And then leave the lights on so that we know that unless the weight room shuts after this 20 minutes, which I'll talk about in a second, we want to leave the lights on so that if we're there and the power comes back on, we know it's come back on. But if we decide to close the weight room after 20 minutes, as we leave, we want to turn off the lights. So once we have everyone gathered at the desk there, we want to wait 20 minutes for the power to come back on. If the power does not come back on, then we will close the weight room. And that's when we'll flip the lights shut and close the door and obviously leave the facility. If the power does come back on, encourage the athletes who are in there to warm up before they start lifting again so that we don't then have a power outage and an injury, okay? But again, if it doesn't turn on after 20 minutes, then we just close the facility and everyone moves on with their day. All right. We live in Utah, so inclement weather is a thing, and when actual or predicted severe weather events occur, the university will distribute communications regarding cancellations and postponements, and we follow the university policy. All right, as far as probability, the most likely scenario that we're going to encounter is a snowstorm. So in the event of a snowstorm, we want to stay warm, avoid travel, and await and follow instructions. So the university is going to send out information regarding whether or not the university and classes are going to be a go. And we'll follow exactly what they're doing. So if classes are a go, training is a go. If classes are a no-go, then training is a no-go. So we'll follow exactly what the university says to do, and we'll take our lead from them. So, but in terms of your personal situation, I realize that not everyone lives on campus. So we want to make sure that we handle our own individual safety at the forefront. So we want to stay warm. If it's unsafe for you to travel, then we don't expect you to travel. Okay. So don't risk getting in your car and driving in, even if campus is open. If you don't feel safe, then don't drive. Okay. So, and we fully understand that that's the situation, but we do ask that, if you're not going to be there, that you communicate it, or you try to find someone to cover your shift who is on campus if the weight room is open, and you don't feel safe making it in. All right. Some more scenarios that could potentially kind of play out are related to wind, rain, thunder, and thunderstorms, etc. So tornadoes, derechos, and severe thunderstorms, all possibilities. So high winds, severe rain, lightning, this type of thing. Okay, so in these situations, we want to move to the lowest point of the building, which if you're in the Payne actual basketball gym, we want to move toward the weight room. Okay, we want to move to the lowest level, and for us, we're already in an extremely safe place. So we want to be in a place where we avoid windows, which the weight room doesn't have any windows, and it's also on the lowest level. So in terms of these things, we're in a very safe position. Okay, if you're outside coaching and you can't get into an area of safety, stay away from buildings, windows, telephone poles, electrical poles. And then we need to seek out a low-lying area, and we need to protect ourselves by lying face down and covering our head. So if we can't get to the weight room, that is the plan, okay? So we want to get away from those types of things, and then we want to get to a point where we're shielded and we can lie face down, cover and protect our head. Now, finally, if these things come through and it gets a little hairy, we want to close all the doors, including in the main corridor, and ensure that they are latched properly, because obviously we're protecting ourselves here from flying debris. So just a few things to be aware of, but the weight room is generally a safe place to be during these types of events. Okay, and the final section here on our emergency response is that of a medical emergency. And we're fortunate in our situation to be directly across from the athletic training room. So we have first responders directly across the hall. And in addition to that, everyone on our staff is CPR, first aid, AED certified. So CPR, AED, and first aid certified. And so in these events, we're going to definitely be following our training. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay. So as I alluded to just a minute ago, we're going to follow our training. So everyone on our team is CPR, AED, first aid certified. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to instruct all participants to stop training, because we don't need more than one injury, right? Or more than one person to get hurt, because it's going to become overwhelming. And so we're going to instruct everyone to stop training. We're going to call 911 and get our emergency responders. We're going to send somebody to the athletic training room to get help. So we're going to make sure that we get some more qualified medical personnel on hand. And then after that, we're going to administer CPR and the AED or first aid, whatever is most applicable. Now, the AED is located just outside the weight room. So you exit the door and you're going to turn to your left, and it's located right there in the hallway above the purple cubbies. So that's where the AED is located. And at this point, it's worth noting that we always have our team paired up. So you're never going to be working in the weight room alone. You're always going to have someone to work with you, so that in the event of any of these things happen, including a medical emergency, that we have support from each other to be able to handle the situation appropriately. So again, we're going to follow our training here and work together to help preserve life and make sure that we have a safe and effective place for people to train. So in the event of a medical emergency, we're going to want to follow our CPR, AED, and first aid training. Okay, as we look to bring it home here, last couple sections, I guess we're about halfway through now, but we're looking at the next section. We're going to cover all the policies and procedures that are associated with the weight room. So anything that's going to be sort of our day-to-day rules, enforcement, things we need to be aware of as employees, all those things are going to be covered in this section. And the first kind of subheading in this section is going to be all things pertaining to the facility and its general operations. And operationally, the most important thing that we're going to want to be aware of is the actual rules of the facility, and the expectation here is that we enforce these rules, and we also model them. So all of these rules, not only do they apply to all the users of the facility, but they also apply to us as employees as well. And so it's important that we model these behaviors. But I'll quickly review them. Obviously, if there's any questions pertaining to these rules, please let me know. But all training needs to be supervised by a staff member. So at no time ever should there just be a student in there. So if you're working and one person needs to go to the restroom, then the other person needs to be in the building. So we never want to leave the facility completely empty. Or if you're going to get the mop, one person still needs to stay. Okay. As far as lifting, we want to ensure that spotters are present when they are required, and that's any time that the bar passes over the head and neck or the bar rests on the shoulders. We want to make sure that we have spotters. Doesn't matter how heavy it is, and if there isn't a spotter available, then we are the spotters. Okay, so we exist there to ensure a safe space, and so therefore we are the ones that would be required to spot in those events. Training attire, this is a big one for some reason for us. So training attire needs to consist of a full-length shirt. So nothing that shows the belly. If the person shows up with a belly shirt on, ask them to change. Or if they refuse to change, then tell them that they can't come in. If they become confrontational, you're more than welcome to call me. Okay, that goes for any of this stuff. The next one, you need to have closed-toed shoes. So no flip-flops, no slippers. No, just you need training shoes. Okay, so there's no that's the only thing that you should have on when you're training. The next one, as far as pants, we need to make sure that people are in gym shorts, sweats, wind pants, joggers, no jeans, no jorts. Okay, all the buttons and all those types of things. We don't want to we want to preserve our equipment because it costs a lot of money, and we don't want anything to snag on our upholstery because it costs a fortune to replace and repair things. It also costs a lot of time and energy. So just make sure that we have proper training attire. It also is, respectful of the others in the building. That we, some of us aren't comfortable having another person next to us without a shirt on or showing their midriff. So we want to be respectful of the others in the space as well. We want to clean and return our equipment when it's finished. So all the cleaning supplies are located in the cabinet at the entry. And so we want our athletes, when they're done using equipment, to spray it off. And they can leave it wet. If someone's coming right behind them, they can wipe it down. But we generally speaking, want to ensure that all equipment after it's used is cleaned and returned. We don't have a ton of money. I don't think that's a secret. So we don't want to drop weights except for bumpers on the ever in the weight room. So bumpers on the platforms is fine. Not bumpers on the ground because they'll pulverize the concrete. But we don't ever want to drop weights except for bumpers on the platforms. So, to preserve the equipment for its long-term use and for our use over, each of our use in our daily training, we want to ensure that it's available. So we got to protect it. Things that are not permitted, horseplay is definitely not permitted. So no goofing around. We don't need anyone getting hurt because they're wrestling in the weight room or some silly stuff. And in terms of team training, no cell phones, headphones, or cameras are permitted. When athletes are in there during open hours, I don't mind if they have their cell phone or their headphones on. That's fine. And then as far as food and drinks, there's no gum, no food, no food, period. Drinks without lids, and anything non-water. So basically, the only thing that you can bring in there is a bottle of water. Other than that, there should be no food or drink. And that goes for us as well. Okay, so we want to ensure that, like I said, we're modeling that behavior. And then finally, we don't need any harassment, bullying, discriminatory language or behavior. Like, our space is welcome, and our differences are what makes us who we are. And so we're gonna value those differences, and we're not gonna be treating other people like trash. And we're gonna bring as many people to the table as we can in order to have a successful and rewarding experience. Okay, as far as your sort of day-to-day duties and day-to-day operations and outside of the facility, we'll cover the expectations that you're going to need to meet throughout your course working with us. All right. So work expectations. So anytime you have a shift, the expectation is that you're going to arrive 5 minutes early. So our shifts all start at either 5 or 6 p.m. And so you'll be there 5 minutes early. You'll get paid for that time. So you need to mark that time down. So whatever time you come in, that's what time you mark down. And so that's the first thing. So I don't want to be sitting there texting you and, hey, where are you at? It's 5:10, it's 5:05, it's 5 o'clock. Like, you need to be there 5 minutes early. Okay. Our staff As a staff member, we're not permitted to lift while we are supervising the facility, because clearly that would be distracting from our ability to ensure a safe environment. So there's no lifting. This has to be done on non-work hours, whether it be before your shift, after your shift, on another day. In HWAC, it doesn't matter. But you're not allowed to lift during your shift. And then we want to obviously follow and enforce the rules that I mentioned on the previous slide. If you ever have any challenges with those things, you definitely just call me. And you can call myself or Coach West, and we'll resolve those issues immediately. And then the last thing is we're going to complete all of our daily duties, and those are going to be in our maintenance log, which I'll cover in just a moment. So, yeah, just a friendly reminder when we say enforce the rules, like make sure you eat before your shift, bring a water bottle with just water, like just things like that, just to remember, okay? And we'll talk more about the daily duties in just a minute. Okay. Daily duties. So the most important daily duties that we have are maintaining the equipment in the facility and the facility itself, and then also maintaining a level of cleanliness. So we obviously want to make sure that people aren't getting sick, that we're not, that people every now and again, right? Like you're training hard, some saliva is going to get somewhere, possibly a little scuff is going to occur, and there's going to be blood. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining the cleanliness, the sanitation, and obviously that all of our equipment is in working order. And so we're going to do things the right way. And in order to do that, we use a product called Whizzer. And the top middle, you can see those benches there. That's where the Whizzer is located. And that is a picture from the athletic training room. So you walk out the weight room door, directly across the hall and into the athletic training room. Look to your left and look down, and you'll see a bottle of blue Whizzer. Now, our bottles take one pump, so you can just put one pump, go out to the drinking fountain, and top them off. So if the Whizzer is ever low, that's what we use to clean. So in terms of Whizzer, that's the cleaning solution. It goes in our bottles, spray it, wipe it, you get the point. That's where you can refill. We have access to a lot of wellness and performance and educational data in our roles. Okay, so you can see those files there. And all of that information is protected by HIPAA and FERPA. Okay, and HIPAA is the protection for medical records, and FERPA is the protection for educational records. So we want to make sure that under no circumstance do we share or disclose any information relative to any other athlete in our role. Okay, so we have access to information. We need to keep our mouth shut about that information. So that is extremely, extremely important, especially for those of you who are doing data migration. Okay, the next thing is when we clean. So the bottom left corner there, when we clean whatever's on our daily duties. That means that we clean literally everything. If it's a nut, if it's a bolt, if it's a bar, if it's upholstery, if it's any support structure or framing of the equipment, we clean everything on that piece of equipment. So if we clean the bike, we clean everything on the bike except for two things: the handlebar shaft and the seat shaft. Those two things are grease, so we don't want to wipe the grease off of those. The other thing is when we clean the leg press and the leg extension leg curl machine, we do not clean the guide bars that go between the weight stacks. We literally clean everything else. Okay, everything else can be cleaned in the whole entire weight room except for those things: the handle and seat shafts on the bikes, and the guide rods for the weight stack on the leg press and the leg curl. Everything else gets cleaned. So when you clean the dumbbells, you clean the handles, you clean the rack, you clean the whole entire rack, even all the way down to the foot pads, the whole thing. And we clean the platforms, we clean the rubber, we clean the hardwood, we clean the benches, we clean the weights, we clean the top, we clean the bottom, we clean the sides, we clean it all. Okay? So when we clean, it's like detailing a car. Now at this point, I would like, actually, you know what? Let me go back one step. We want to make sure that we complete our time card. I'll cover more on that in the next slide. But at this point, as soon as I get done talking, I'd like for you to scan this QR code and open up daily duties. And I would like for you to complete one of the daily duties for one of the days. And And every time you complete a daily duty, I get a notification that it's been logged, so that you've completed your daily duties for the day and it's done well. And so go ahead and open that up, take a look at it, and you can see what the daily duties are for each of the days, and then you can choose one to complete and submit, and so that you understand kind of what's going to be expected. And yeah, and if you have questions on daily duties, definitely feel free to let me know. This QR code is also available on the flip chart at the front desk of the weight room. All right, so this is just kind of a screenshot. You've already done this, but I pulled just a couple quick images off of the maintenance log. We're always going to be completing daily maintenance, so if we move from left on the left column there, where it says weight room maintenance log, and we move down, we're always going to be completing daily maintenance. Unless you were able to repair something, obviously we would want to log that. Something got a little sideways, a bolt was loose, and you were able to repair it or something, we want to log that. If there's any damage to the facility, then you can kind of follow these instructions. So, and it'll prompt you if an incident report is needed. So if there's damage to the facility, we need to do an incident report. If something was left in the facility, then we need to do an incident report. If some equipment was damaged, we need to do an incident report. And it'll prompt you with everything that you need to do to open and close the facility, and what kind of maintenance that you're supposed to be doing for that particular day. Not everything gets done every day, as you can see when you looked at it in the last slide when you scan the QR code. So there's definitely a system in place to make that happen. Okay, concerning time cards, all right, this is big shtick here. The university's really on top of us about this, and so it's important that we keep up. So time cards, you need to complete your time card daily, and if you're going in and you complete your time card outside of work hours, then you need to log those hours. Okay, so if you take 15 minutes on, Friday at noon to complete your time card, then you need to put 15 minutes down, because those are work hours. Okay, so anything you're doing for work, we want to log. We're not doing anything free for the university. The university is going to pay us for our work, and we're going to be valued for the work that we complete. So if we're working, we're getting paid. Every month, your time cards are due on the 15th and the last day of the month, and I'll send a reminder. But after the day after they're due is the day that I approve them, and I'd lose track of them after that, and my ability to edit them or help you with them is diminished. So just be aware that you need to make sure that you complete your time card. I'm not going in and doing all that for you. If you want your money, you got to get it. So that's kind of the gist of it. Complete your time card daily, and they're due on the 15th and the last day of the month. So just make sure that on the 15th and the last day of the month, you hit submit. A couple notes for us here. Employment statuses. Westminster University student employees are hourly employees, the same as myself, Coach West, and Coach Janes. We're all hourly employees. Okay, we do the same time cards as you do, so it's important that it's an accurate record. We need to sign in and sign out each time we work. So attempting to fill out all of your hours at the end of the pay period is unacceptable, and so that is something that we need to avoid. And so just make sure that we're doing it daily. The next thing is accuracy. Okay, falsifying your timesheet is going to result in immediate dismissal, loss of work, award. This is the university's policy, and it's also fraud. So just be aware that when we keep track of our hours, that we make sure it's accurate. And if I need to make an adjustment to those hours, I'll assist you in making those adjustments and make sure that your time cards are accurate. All right, a few usage policies, just as a friendly reminder. The Payne varsity weight room is exclusively for the use of Westminster student athletes, their coaches, department athletic support staff. So if they're not in the athletic department, they ain't supposed to be in there. Okay, so those not permitted to use the facility: alumni, recruits and their families, incoming freshmen and transfers until they're officially enrolled, which you'll get notification from me. Family and friends of staff, the general student population, doesn't matter if they're graduates or undergraduates, and then faculty, staff, administrators outside of the Department of Athletics, all not permitted to use. One exception is, and I want to remain friendly to the people who have given so much to our department, and that is seniors who just completed their sports season. So if they're, let's say, a volleyball athlete, they just completed their sports season, and they come in the spring and they want to train during open hours, then they can do that. But they're not allowed to train during team training. But if they're a senior, they just completed their 4 years of eligibility and they have one more semester on campus, they're permitted to use the facility during open hours should they desire to do so. Okay, data migration. So as you know, or as you may know, our student athletes complete a wellness log each time they train. And that data needs to be moved from TeamBuilder to our database so that our key stakeholders can utilize that data to assist our athletes plan practice, plan training, provide support, etc., etc. So that data migration is accomplished by 3 people. And those of you who've been assigned to do data migration you have been spoken to and will provide you with some additional training, in which is step number 3 coming up here. But that data migration needs to be completed before 9 p.m. every day. Okay, so every day, Monday through Friday, you need to go into TeamBuilder and you need to migrate data from there to our database in Google Sheets. Now, that being said, this is all very private data. So again, HIPAA, FERPA, all very applicable here. Okay. The only thing that you need to know about transferring that data is we do not transfer the total. Okay. That total is aggregated in our database automatically. So don't transfer the total, but transfer the raw data set. All right. And then if you're on the data migration team and you have not yet been trained on how to move data and the process behind moving data, you are to reach out to Coach West, and she will give you a hand scheduling some time to learn how to migrate data. So you can pause the video right now, and you can send an email or a chat in Microsoft Teams to Coach West, and she will schedule time to give you some assistance concerning data migration. Okay, as alluded to in the previous slide, our communication all takes place in Microsoft Teams. Okay, this is where all of our main communication can be done. Any questions, all those things can be done in Microsoft Teams, and preferably we can do them in either in a chat form on Microsoft Teams or in the actual subcategory or the channel on Teams, and the channels are listed there: general, content creation, data management, human resources, policies and procedures is P&P, maintenance and incidents, and scheduling. So if we're going to switch schedules and things like that, prefer we do that communication and scheduling. We'll also, in the top ribbon of that channel, have our staff schedule. Maintenance and incident reports, our maintenance and incident reports are located in that channel in the top ribbon. And also you can ask questions or let us know if there was an incident or something like that. If Coach West, myself, or Coach James need to know about something, you can always post it in that channel. Or if it's a question related to maintenance or incident, great place to post it. Anything related to time cards, policies and procedures, rules, all that stuff can be housed in human resources. Any questions concerning data management and data migration can be posted there. And then obviously we have a content and creation arm, which a few of you work on. That, any questions related to that can be posted there. Okay. So yeah, this is where this is kind of like our virtual conference room. Okay. So you just make sure that you have all your notifications turned on. If you're not sure, how to do that, please let, a staff member know, and we will give you a hand, to do that. But it does require that you go into each channel. And in the top right corner, you can select the settings for that channel and turn on the notifications for each channel. So that's a helpful tip. If you need to pause this video, you can do that right now, and then go ahead and turn on those notifications. But my preference is that we do all work communication in Microsoft Teams so that there's a record of it. So if anything ever happens and we need to have record of our communications, then that record does exist. So please refrain from communicating about work through text message or group chat. My preference is that we do it in Teams because it is both HIPAA and FERPA compliant, and also it allows us to have a record of communications so that if anything ever did happen from a legal standpoint, we would be covered. Okay, by and large, this concludes the training for the weight room staff. And the next step, you're going to be completing your agreement. So what I'd like for you to do right now is pause the video make sure you have access to your CPR, AED, and first aid cards, because in the next step you're going to need to upload those. Okay, so pause the video, go ahead and scour your computer or take a scan of your CPR, AED, and first aid cards so that you can upload them in the next step. Okay, like I said, pause the video. Hopefully you have done that, and you've acquired your CPR, AED, first aid cards. And then I would like for you to go ahead and scan this QR code. This QR code is going to take you to your work agreement, and I'll get a notification as soon as you complete it. So no need to, necessarily send me a note. If you would like to, that would be great, but you don't have to. But yeah, we would need to go ahead and complete this agreement, and that includes uploading our CPR, AED, and first aid cards. And appreciate everyone's time. Appreciate your attention. I realize that it's a lot of information. Hopefully, 1 hour training is not too much, but it gives you a good idea of what we're expecting, and that we intend fully to run a professional outfit here and do things in the right way every time without exception. And that includes ensuring the safety of our student athletes while also providing a valuable experience to our student athletes, and ensuring that personal growth is attained. So I appreciate everyone's time and attention. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, and welcome aboard. Looking forward to an excellent semester.